Thank you for the invitation. My name's Christian Walle. I work as a design manager for Skanska in Norway, where I lead and manage design teams on commercial renovation projects in the Oslo area. We've seen a lot of big projects today. I am going to walk you through a fairly simple yet very effectful implementation of VDZ in a small renovation project that I've been working on, July 22nd Center. And I'll show you how we managed to reduce the total project costs by 22%. We cut decision latency in half, 50%. And we've had, so far, knock on wood, no rework on account of changed decisions. But before that, I'll give you a brief introduction to Skanska, to 22nd of July and the project, as well as the challenges that we faced that triggered this VDC implementation. So, Skanska is one of the world's leading construction and project development groups. We have, I know these numbers are a bit old, but that's what I had available to me at the time, so sorry about that. But a 2021 revenue of 148 billion Swedish crowns and a market cap of 98 billion Swedish crowns. We have roughly 30,000 employees worldwide, and we operate in a few select home markets. You can see the revenue is fairly evenly split between the US and the Nordics, where I work, with an additional 20% coming from Europe. Mainly the UK and Central and Eastern Europe. And I know you've seen quite a few maps now with arrows pointing to Norway, but just to place my project on the map as well, it's right there in Oslo. Okay. On the 22nd of July, 2011, a terrorist sets off a car bomb in a government building in the city center of Oslo, killing 8 people and injuring at least 209. He then goes on to attack the summer camp of AUF, the youth wing of the Norwegian Labour Party, which was in government at the time, killing 67 and injuring 32. The pictures you can see here show the site of the bombing in the government quarters in the city center of Oslo, which is currently being rebuilt. The 22nd of July Center is a commemoration and learning center that disseminates knowledge about the terrorist attacks in Oslo and on the island of Utøya, and educate and spread information to the general public. They also do a lot of activities again towards schools to inform and educate about this terrorist attack. The new center, which I'm working on, is being built on the site of the 2011 bombing. So it's in the area that you saw on the previous slide. It's a fairly small project. It's only 2,200 square meters, which is 24,000 square feet. But with a price tag of 327 million Norwegian crowns, or 29.5 million US dollars. That's our cost on the design build contract. So there are many things contributing to this project being fairly complicated and expensive. It's a complicated renovation project where we're building a new basement level underneath one of the buildings that was damaged in the bombings and connecting them together and renovating the existing building. It's also built in bedrock consisting predominantly of alum shale, which is toxic and very difficult and expensive to deposit. And it also needs to be sealed off in a very special way to prevent running water, which would cause swelling and damaging the building later. So it's small in size, but complicated and expensive. It's also a politically sensitive project. on account of well, the incident itself. That also means there are very many strong opinions regarding the final design and the functions the center should have. So, as I was starting my VDC certificate process, we were in the process of bidding for this job. And the initial bid was far outside the client's cost limit. So we knew we had to do something. And we're tied to client objectives and project objectives that didn't really give us time to go through an extensive redesign and cost optimization phase. So in essence, we had 1 month to work together with our design team, the client and the end user to optimize the project and cut costs by 20%. That was the requirement given to us, without compromising on important end user qualities that would draw political attention. So in order to reach the project objectives, we needed to finish this optimization process in time and transition to the construction phase. We knew that if we didn't manage to do this within the 1 month, there were powerful voices lobbying to postpone the entire project, which was obviously not something Skanska wanted. So we had our work cut out for us. Now, I was, of course, in the process of getting VDC certified, and using VDC methods is standard procedure in Skanska Norway. So as a natural entry point, a natural approach to these challenges. So we set up a wide-reaching VDC framework based on the standard procedures in Skanska and also our understanding of the client and project objectives that we had in front of us. And we quickly realized that the main areas we needed to focus on the project as a whole, not just the cost optimization process, was the decision-making processes. And I know you've heard from several speakers today. It seems to be a fairly common trend in VDC, using it to improve decision-making processes, but that was very important for us as well. So we set up metrics and controllable factors, or things we said we were going to do and then measured the implementation of, dedicated to this. Now, the VDC framework looked something like this when we started our implementation. I'm not going to walk you through all of this now, because not all of it is relevant to the specific example of high performance that I'm sharing, but I'll highlight a few that I think are key to our success. And I'll start with the most important one, which is mapping critical design processes. This is not normal practice in Skanska Norway. I think that might be an industry-wide thing. We're good at using ICE sessions, we're good at using BIM, but the PPM process and actually mapping out processes to see what can be approved is not something that I have ever done before, and I think it's key to our success. We also decided to use BIM, specifically the visualization part of it, as decision support for more than 80% of the decisions. That was the goal. And also to involve the end user representative, we had as a goal to invite them to over 70% of ICE sessions. We also took a look at our decision-making process. This is the output from us mapping the processes in the project as a whole. We realized this one was key to make it through the cost optimization process. So we started there. So this is a generic example of a standard decision-making process with no VDC. It starts, this can look very different, but this is one example. It starts with the general contractor, in this case, ordering a design, the design team taking that order, generating one or several alternative designs, handing this suggestion back to the general contractor for an estimation process. And this then forms the complete basis for the decision that is made. In our case, the end user is very involved. So the client would look at it, consider the decision, send it to the end user, who would consider what they prefer, and then it would be sent back to the client for a formal decision and then implemented by us. And this process has several challenges. The first one is that it just straight up takes way too long for what we had in mind. The other issue is variability. There are many cases, many points here of potential failure where the product that's being generated can be sent back because of poor quality of the design or because it doesn't answer the end user's needs or because it's outside of budget. There's also a risk of doing unnecessary work because the design team doesn't have the full understanding of the user's needs. And there's a not insignificant risk of decisions being changed later on account of the end user not fully understanding the decision they were making and the impact it has. So we looked at this and we tried to improve it using VDC. And this is what we came up with. So it starts in the same way with the general contractor ordering a design. But this time, the design team takes this order into an ICE session with the client and the general contractor. Together, they work to develop alternative designs or a suggestion for a cost optimization. And do a cost analysis at the same time. So directly from this ICE meeting, you have a complete basis for decision. That's the output. That gets sent to the client, and then we have another ICE session. I think this ICE session is the most important one. This is not so much about generating new solutions, but it's about working together with the client and user to make sure everyone understands the decision, understands what limits it has, what other things are tied up based on the decision they make. So the design team explains and visualizes. In these cases, we would often use, for example, a VR walkthrough if the topic is suitable for it. The general contractor is there to answer any questions about cost, time consequences. And the client is there to make a decision in real time, which is then implemented again by the general contractor. Now, what did we achieve running the processes like this? Well, I mentioned it earlier, but we reduced decision latency by 50% and have, to this date, had no rework on account of changed decisions. This is based on a process that took place in December, so we're quite further ahead now. We also managed to cut costs by 22% within the time limit and successfully transitioned to the construction phase. Now, I picked out some key metrics that I think let us know that we were on the right track. That's visualization used as decision support. We had a target of 80% and it achieved 100. Percentage of decisions unchanged after 2 months, like I said. So far we're at 100. Reduction in total cost per ICE session. We had a target of 3%. We achieved near double that at 5.5%. And decision latency, where we had a target of 14 days and achieved 9 days. So based on this very simple implementation, we had quite formidable results. And of course, we're very impressed by this. And it's definitely something I'm taking with me to my next project. But we had some challenges as well. And I added some of them here. I think these are the biggest ones as potential pitfalls. So I'll walk through them quickly and try to offer some mitigation strategies as well. cost optimization is not necessarily a positively loaded process. It can trigger a lot of negative emotions, especially for the end users, the architect. In our case, they had lived with this design in their head for the old design, the one that was too expensive, for more than a year. So it was definitely affecting us. And our suggestion to change this, or to improve this, is to make sure to measure participant satisfaction in the ICE sessions, and make sure to implement changes to improve the experience and try to keep the process as productive and positively loaded as possible. Another issue was that the compound effect of many simultaneous decisions can be hard to see and comprehend. So we made almost 100 decisions. I think I counted and came to 99. You can see a list of it to the bottom right there. And while we visualized and explained each of these decisions individually, the end result was a bit hard to comprehend. So what we did, and what I would suggest doing, is after an intensive decision sprint like this, make time for a VR walkthrough with all the decisions implemented. Like I said, we did that. You can see a picture of it, top right there. To make sure that everyone has the same understanding of the product that we came out of the cost optimization with. And a more general challenge could be that the project is not sufficiently developed to use BIM for decision making. Typically early in the process, this could be the case, which could be a cost barrier preventing you from doing this. And while using BIM for this is definitely the best way to go, the key, if that's not possible, is to make the alternative designs visual and understandable for the end user. Using illustrations, site visits, reference projects, all these things can, to some degree, substitute for BIM and VR and help achieve at least part of the results that a full-blown implementation would give. All right. That is all I was going to go through today. Thank you for the attention.